What's up, guys? Big Papa Drock back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And guys, I am incredibly excited because I have not only a first-time guest on my channel, but one of the absolute OGs of Raid content creation, the one and only Chosen. Chosen, how are you, my man?
What's up, Drock? It's always good to chat with you. I think was I the first one you interacted with? I remember like tuning into your stream while you're playing Overwatch or something.
This is so great that you brought this up because it was going to be the first thing that I mentioned, and really just speaking about who you are as a person, and you are absolutely correct. So when I was just starting out in Raid content creation, we're talking nobody really knew who I was. It maybe put out a handful of videos. I was Twitch streaming. I think it was Overwatch or Diablo 4, one of the two games. And you came into my channel one night when I was streaming and introduced yourself, which I thought was so incredibly friendly, especially given, you know, kind of your status in the community. But not only that, not only did you introduce yourself, you offered for me to come join you to play Diablo 4 at any point in time, which was unbelievably generous. And then you took it a step further and you friended me on Discord and said, hey man, if you ever want to do a collab, let me know. And you were the very first Raid content creator that offered to do that with me, which made such a just incredible, like just unbelievable impact on me of like, wow, that was so generous for this guy who's extremely successful in Raid, established, to go into a nobody's channel and offer to collab with them. And I thought it said a lot about your character. And the funny thing is, we never ended up collabing. Like I never actually made it happen. But that interaction,
years later, here we are.
Yeah, years later, here we are. And that interaction has stuck with me. And I guess it's been probably 2 or 3 years since that happened. So yeah, dude, I'm so glad that you remember that because it's something that I remember very, very much ever since it happened.
You were playing Overwatch on King's Row.
You're absolutely right. I can't believe you. All right, that is pretty damn impressive that you remember it that well because I honestly couldn't remember what game it was. But yeah, you were actually right. It was King's Row. Yeah, 100%, 100%. So
yeah, well, I had seen one of your videos or something and saw you were kind of a new content creator, and I just thought it'd be fun to pop in and say hi when I saw you on Twitch. Kind of and I play Overwatch, so I thought it would be fun to chop it up with you a little bit.
Dude, I honestly love that. I'm so glad that you remembered that interaction. But let's talk about why I wanted to bring you on the channel today. You know, at this point, I've been playing Raid for 4.5 years. The game has been out for 6. You obviously were one of the OGs of Raid content creation. And I just started thinking about kind of how much the game has changed and also how many people, how many content creators specifically have played a role in the different seasons of Raid. And so I wanted to essentially start a series, and my hope is that the viewers that are watching this will enjoy this essentially interview with you, and that, you know, people will enjoy kind of touching base with some of the people that I think were formative content creators in the Raid scene over the years that maybe have departed for different reasons and kind of just want to catch up with you, get a better idea of where you're at now. And yeah, just kind of touch on that point of, you know, the people that played a large role in influencing Raid content over the years. So that's kind of the pitch here, Chosen. So I'm so glad you were down to join me.
Hey, sounds fun, man. I'm honored to be here on your channel.
Awesome. So all that being said, I've got a ton of questions for you. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's start with kind of the start of your Raid content career. So first and foremost, when did you start creating content for Raid, and what drew you to the game initially that brought you in there?
I believe it would have been March or April of like 2019, so it just hit 6 years ago. And what drew me in was literally I worked in finance at the time, and so I was like laying in bed one night and I couldn't fall asleep. So I was like, oh, let me go through the app store, see if there's anything fun to mess around on and try out for an hour until I get tired. And lo and behold, oh, new RPG, Raid Shadow Legends, best RPG of 2019. And I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and give it a shot. And so I played it, you know, until I fell asleep for like an hour, and I found myself like, you know, on lunch at work, like logging in and being excited to play more. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a mobile gamer. I'm a PC gamer. You know, I was like a StarCraft, Diablo guy who did content for a while. And I was like, maybe I should create a channel where I play mobile games for a few days and then just review them. So that was my original plan, was I'm just going to play Raid for a few days and then give my, so you'll see like my first video on my channel is me grading Raid Shadow Legends on like gameplay, graphics, you know, dev communication. And I had like 10 different criteria. And then like, even though it was a new channel, it was doing well and I was liking Raid. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I just roll with it and cover Raid for a while.
I actually love that. So like, it wasn't even a plan. You just kind of jumped in, you know, and from a review perspective, and suddenly here you are becoming a full-time content creator. That's pretty insane. I actually didn't know your origin story there, and the fact that you were in finance, which is so cool, because I was in like the real estate world and in the acting world before I ended up becoming a content creator. So it's interesting to see kind of where people start and how they end up switching into this. So do
Yeah,
you
if you watch like my initial videos and my initial live streams, I'm literally sometimes I'm wearing my bank outfit. Like like I'd be streaming and people would always be like, "Oh, you dress so nice." And I'm like, I literally drove home from work at like 5 o'clock and I would start streaming. I would walk in the door and start streaming. That way I could like finish up all my work by like 10 p.m., stream, do some videos, go to bed, do it again the next day.
Dude, that is, I am gonna have to find a photo of that. That is honest. I don't know if it still exists on your YouTube channel, but that is frankly incredible that you were like literally suit and tie. Probably been a while since you've had to wear one of those, I would imagine. Yeah.
I don't know if I was like suit and tie, but I was like in my bank, like quarter zip, like my
Okay.
uniform, like
Maybe a little Patagonia, you know what I mean? The true
That's right, yeah.
finance outfit. Dude, I love that. That is so awesome. So okay, so you start doing raid content. It starts taking off. You go from like the review aspect to actually playing the game and making guides on it. And certainly when I came into raid, there were a lot of guides that you already had out at that point and you were pretty established. But did you have kind of like a big break moment when you were starting out, or a moment that said, hey, you know what, I can transition into being a full-time content creator, I can kind of leave the finance job? Like, was there like an inflection point there, or was it more of just kind of a gradual transition?
Yeah, I kind of knew within a few weeks that there was some potential there because I had been a content creator since 2008. So I'd already been doing it for over a decade and I never made any money. I just did it for fun. I just have always been a gamer and I like to like produce spreadsheets and deep dive and educate people and try my best to produce content and cast games. So I'd been doing it for a while and it was getting more traction than anything I'd ever done. So I did know there was some potential in it, and I was lucky enough to meet some people like Darth right at the beginning, and he was super cool. He was like, "Dude, let's help each other out. Let's like stream together. Let's raid each other. Let's get in this game together and see if we can make it happen." And so that was a big catalyst for me kind of deciding to analyze what was going on. And then when I got to the point where I was making pretty comparable money to what I was earning at the bank, that's when I was like, you know what, if I can maintain this for a few months, I'll think about putting in my notice and really getting after this.
Yeah, it's a scary point, I think, when content creators get to that place, and it's not an easy thing where you're suddenly actually making money doing something that you love and doing content, which isn't to say that you didn't love working at the bank, but I think there's most people would say they prefer to make content for their career. But even still, when you get to that point and now you're actually making money, it's not a guaranteed thing that you're just going to continue to go up, and it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And so I can imagine how stressful that might have been as a decision of like, okay, am I really ready to do this, or do I take more time?
Well, and my supervisor at the bank was kind of a younger guy. He was like my age, and so he kind of understood. Like he had seen some of my videos and stuff, and kind of knew what was going on. And I could pop into his office and talk about everything. Super cool guy. And yeah, they were really good to me, and I hated putting in my notice and quitting. I made sure to give them a month and whatever time they needed. But yeah, I did really like the job, but I also wanted to do the content thing, and it was just kind of the rubber met the road, and I had to pick one. It's like, do I want to go all in, trying to move up in the corporate world, or do I want to pursue this gaming dream content type thing? And I had to pick one, and I went for it.
Would you say that you made the right decision, all these years later?
I think both paths would have worked out well. I probably would have moved up a few times by now at the bank, 5, 6 years later, and would have been, I don't know. I think I don't regret it. I think I made the right decision because I'm lucky enough to be somewhere like Fateless, working with some incredible people, some titans in the industry. So the fact that I ended up at Fateless because of my content journey, I do think I made the right call, and I'm super happy about how it all turned out.
That's actually a really good point and something I wanted to talk about next. So, you were a raid content creator, I think, for what, close to 5 years now? How long was it overall?
It would have been, yeah, it would have been 2019 to I don't remember, maybe like early 2024 or something. So yeah,
Yeah,
about 5 years.
I think last year is when you made the decision to step away, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I'd have to pull up my channel, look at the exact date, but yeah, pretty close
Got
to
it.
5 years.
So let's talk about that. So, you were again, I would say one of the larger raid content creators around, if I remember correctly. Like, definitely one of the more noticeable, visible creators. What do you? And I know you did a video on this, and I can link it in the description down below where it gets a little more in depth. But overall, what do you think was the biggest decision in your process of saying, hey, you know what, it's time for me to move on to something different than raid?
Yeah, I had done more content on Raid Shadow Legends than anyone else on planet Earth. When you add up all of the live streams and all of the videos, you're talking about between the two, you're talking about close to 5,000 iterations of Raid Shadow Legends content. So I had
Wow.
just I had just kind of run my course. It's not like Raid's a bad game, and it's not like anything super crazy happened or I was like making no money and I couldn't pay my bills. It was just like I kind of did everything I wanted to do and it was time for me to move on. I found myself kind of feeling like I don't really want to do this anymore. I'm not passionate. I'm just kind of doing it because people expect it of me and I can kind of just hold serve and pay my bills by cranking out raid content. But I lost kind of like that fire.
Mm.
So I was like, you know, when that happens, it's time for me to look towards something else. And that's when I had kind of been looking for new opportunities and I saw the Fateless thing kind of happening. And so after a collab with Hell Hades, I was like, hey man, you know, what do you think about me helping out over there? And he was like, oh yeah, let's line up a time to talk about it. And it ended up working out. So it all just kind of lined up and made sense with how I was feeling at the time.
I can completely relate to that. I think one of the things that I've seen in my own content creation journey, and similar to you, I mean, I wasn't a content creator for nearly as long as you were, but I never intended to cover Raid Shadow Legends. It was never something that I was personally interested in. I just did a sponsored stream, and suddenly, next thing you know, I'm wailing out and like, I'm gonna make content on this kind of stuff. So it kind of just came out of nowhere. But
Raid made out like bandits on sponsoring you,
yeah,
didn't they?
yeah, they did well with me. I'll just say that they got that. I think they paid me like $500, through Stream Elements. I think they did pretty well on me alone, let alone anybody else I brought to the community. So congratulations, Plarium. Talk about a great return on investment. So well done on their part. But speaking to kind of this idea, I think of maybe a little bit of burnout, right? Where you're, as a content creator, you're covering one game for a long period of time, and I actually didn't know that you'd put out that amount of content. I knew you were pretty prolific, but not to that scale. And so I can relate from that too, because I think there are also seasons for me with this game where there are moments where I've been deeply in love with it. And then for me as a player, I've been more frustrated by certain mechanics that have then kind of detracted, but then I've come back. And so I can relate to that. I think it's a little different too with you, where like you've done so many things at that point that it's kind of like, yeah, I'm ready for the next challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like I streamed Raid every day. I don't think I missed more than like one day a year for like 3 straight years. Like it was just every day, 3 hours of Raid, 1 or 2 videos, Raid from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Just that was my life. And after 5 years of that, I was just kind of I'd done everything I wanted to do, and I was looking for something new.
That's insane, dude. So important question. Do you still play Raid casually, or have you kind of completely walked away from it entirely?
Nope. I like it's just not within my personality to do something casually. I'm either going to do something absolutely full bore or not at all. And so I literally have not played 1 millisecond since I quit. Like the day that I said I was quitting, I didn't even well, I don't want to lie. I think I've logged in to like look at something like, oh, how did Raid do this? Like, how did Raid word this ability? But I have not done like a run or a clan boss fight or anything since the day that I quit.
Wow, that's actually kind of impressive. I think sometimes it can be hard for people to walk away, especially when you put that much time and effort into something. So kind of impressive that you were able to say, you know what, I'm on to something else. That was this phase of my life. Now this is my new phase. And so talking about your new phase, yeah, as you mentioned, you are at Fateless. Obviously, Godforge is something that I think a lot of the Raid community are looking forward to, for certainly me, for a lot of different reasons. What are you specifically doing at Fateless?
Yeah, so I kind of started initially. I was maybe the first actual employee that came on to Fateless. It was like the core founders and then me. And then initially, what I was helping with was we were doing some analysis on, do we partner with an IP or do we do this ourselves? Or do we make our own IP? And so initially, for the first few months, I was kind of tasked with doing research on that topic. and trying to prepare for those meetings and trying to kind of figure out what route to go. After the route that we were going to go was settled, I moved into a designer role. So I've had to learn like the basics of Unity to be able to help kind of poke around in there and implement heroes and stuff like that. And then my main job that I've done at Fateless overall is designing heroes. So I'll like research like the lore of Zeus or whatever, and then I'll have to try to craft a kit for Zeus within our game's universe, like the abilities that make sense for him to do in the context of our game. That's kind of like been the bulk of probably like 75% of what I've done.
Dude, that is actually badass. And what a talk about a perfect hire for that role. You think about all the different champions you've seen in Raid and what you've been exposed to there. There's so many lessons I'm sure you can learn, or you have learned from that experience of covering Raid, and then also mistakes that they may have made that hopefully you guys will not just polymorph. But although I think I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Chosen, I heard that polymorph is in Godforge. Is that,
What's funny is there
yeah?
was conversations about that, and I was having the same opinion you were having. I was like, guys, we can't do this. Like, we can't have a like, yeah. So, but we're still in the development phase, so nothing is final. We're just now, as of recording this, heading into our alpha soon here. So a debuff like polymorph could make it into the game. You never know.
Oh
But
no, oh no, don't do it, Chosen. Don't do
I would
it.
try to I would be on your side if I were in the meetings. I would be saying, let's try to avoid a mechanic like that if we can.
Bring me in as a special consultant. Let me convince Hell Hades or whomever else is on the investor board not to do it. I will be your right-hand man there. But regardless of whatever you guys decide there, I mean, I've certainly seen quite a bit of the Godforge like content start to come out, and you mentioned you're about to go into alpha at the time of this recording. Is there an updated kind of release plan that you guys have? I know the big thing with game development, of course, is it ends up taking a lot longer than you might think. And like you look at games like Grand Theft Auto, right? With Grand Theft Auto 6 has been in development, I think, for close to 10 years. And obviously has had its release date pushed back. Like, how close are you guys to kind of getting to that point where we get to really get hands-on? I know there was talk about it in open beta or things like that. Are you able to share any of that info?
Yeah, I believe at some point in July is when the alpha, like people will be able to get their hands on the game, and at least we're doing like a Doom Tower esque concept for our alpha, where there's going to be different floors with different objectives, and you're going to want to build a team to take that down, and then you're going to basically like win the alpha by finishing that like Doom Tower type event. So it's actually coming up pretty soon here, within a couple months, where people should be able to get their hands on the game. As far as a live release, you know how it goes. If I say a date, it's just gonna get it's gonna go horrible.
I don't want to pin you into a God forbid, don't want to get you in trouble here. So totally understand that, but I am definitely extremely excited to check it out. And I think one of the biggest reasons why, as a Raid content creator, and maybe you can shed some kind of light on this, but I don't know how you mentioned you haven't really played Raid since you walked away. When you walked away, you put it down. Have you kept up with kind of just the community around it, or frustrations or things that have happened in the game, or have you kind of really just totally walked away? Like you mentioned you might have logged in once or twice to check one thing or two things, but how up to date are you on kind of the challenges that Raid is going through in terms of community response to different things in the game?
Yeah, one of the people that I work with the most at Fateless is Saphira. So I'm in calls with him, multiple hours a week. And, I do see him talk about things or get frustrated about something going on in Raid. And we all hang out and chop it up about gaming and stuff. So I do hear some of the stuff. Because also Tim Ash is involved with Fateless as well. So I talk with Saphira and Ash and Hell Hades enough to kind of loosely understand. Like, I think there's relics now that you can equip on heroes, and I do hear some of like the most notable drama just from knowing so many people in the community and following it. But in terms of the mechanics and the specific things, I wouldn't be up to date of anything in the last like year and a half.
Got it. Would you say it's fair that you guys try to implement some of those pain points, that maybe they're more up to date on in Fateless? Like we talked about polymorph, of course, but some of the other things as well, like trying to to learn from maybe those mistakes?
Yeah, for sure. And it's not only Raid. We play lots of games and we look at the marketplace and we study things and we try to figure out like what do players not like, what has been successful for other games, what can we innovate on, and we definitely take not only Raid but tons of games into consideration when we're trying to parse out kind of like what we should or shouldn't include in Godforge.
Got it. That makes sense. So it's been a little over a year now since you walked away. Do you miss any of that kind of content creation cycle? Do you miss that journey at all? Obviously, you're doing something a little different from what you're doing now, and then for Fateless, like, do you miss creating content for Raid, and are you creating content on anything new, kind of in your free time?
Yeah, I do miss it. As with everything, there's positives and negatives. But I do miss doing it, and I actually just recently started firing up some content on my Diablo 4 channel, just about like RPGs in general. And just wanted to see, have somewhere to still do that because I still game a lot, and I wanted somewhere to upload it. I thought if I uploaded content on my like Raid channel, it would be kind of weird, and also there's a little bit of a weird dynamic like. I would love to do videos. I've sat here and thought about this stuff a lot. I'd love to do videos like reviewing other games and kind of some of the stuff that I used to do, but I'm kind of in a weird spot because like, what would it be like if a Diablo 4 designer was reviewing Path of Exile?
Yeah.
Like so it's like I'm gonna come off as like I don't know. It's just it's a little bit of a weird spot. And by the way, Fateless is super cool. They're like, dude, say whatever you want to say, like create content, you do whatever you want to do. So it's not them putting any restrictions on me, but I just kind of feel like or I don't know. It's something I'm trying to kind of work through because I do really still want to do content, but it needs to be something I'm passionate about and kind of makes sense with my main channel there.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think it's tough because you don't want to have the appearance of being biased. Maybe like like you mentioned, especially with everything with Fateless and all the time you spent there covering Raid, certainly, or a game similar to it, could be challenging. But it's cool to hear that you're still interested in doing it for something, right? And that you're still out there kind of messing around and putting things out. And I actually did not realize that you'd been a content creator for that long prior to Raid. Like I had no clue. So if you're doing it for that long, you definitely got to love it. That is something where that amount of time, especially if you're not making money from it, like that is just pure love, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I did it. I did gaming content for over 10 years before I made a single dollar.
Oh my God, that is insane. That is insane. Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah, back when I got started, it was StarCraft 1, and like there wasn't even a potential to make money. Like that was just something you didn't even think about. Like in 2008, you were just doing like I was casting StarCraft games and I was just doing it because I loved it. It wasn't even a thought of like, oh, hey, maybe someday I might make a little bit of money from this. It was like, no, I'm just doing it because and back then, by the way, in 2008, it was awful compared to what it is now to do content. Like, dude, you'd edit your video, and back in the early days of YouTube, you could only upload 10 minutes maximum. So,
oh, wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. So if I would cast a 28-minute StarCraft match, I would have to release part 1, 10 minutes, part 2 up to 20 minutes, and then part 3 would be the final 8 minutes. And all of those videos back then with the video cards and the computers you had, it would take like an hour and a half to process the video, and then it would take another hour to upload it. So I would work from like 4 p.m. to midnight just to do one StarCraft cast and get it uploaded.
Wow. Dude, I did not realize that. That is insane. Damn. Yeah, you definitely were grinding for the love of it for sure. For sure. Huge differences now, where people go into this with the idea of making a career right off the bat, whether you're streaming, whether you're creating content, whatever. So massive shift. But I had no clue that was the kind of like struggle to create content back in the day. That's insane.
Yeah, it was brutal, and it's a lot different now. Like the content scene's a lot different. Back then, it was all about your subscribers and getting people to subscribe and watch your stuff every day. Nowadays, it's all about like the algorithm. It's all about getting your content pushed and having good thumbnails and good titles. And so there's been a massive shift in how you're kind of successful on the platform and what's going to work and growing and doing well and all that.
That's so true. People like subscribers really aren't as important as people make it out to be, whether it's for sponsorships or anything else or any kind of financial component. Like the reality is it's all about views and it's all about engagement. And that's the kind of stuff that determines your quote unquote financial value as a creator. You know what I mean? You could have 20 million subscribers, but if 5,000 people watch your videos, you know, like cool. Obviously, at one point you really popped off, but it's very much a "what have you done for me lately" business. You know,
Yeah, for
where
sure.
they want to see what you're doing right then and there. And certainly, I've seen that in my own content creation career as I've tried to grow, because I've never once been, well, I guess I was full time during the pandemic, but never once got to that area yet where that is the sole thing that I'm doing. It's a very tough thing to achieve, in my opinion. Speaking about like just raid content in general, you know, I have some idea of kind of what you were known for back in the day, but what do you like? What do you hope that the raid audience remembers you know about for your raid content? Like, what kind of thing do you think that they hope they take away when they're like, oh yeah, Chosen, he was the guy that blank.
Oh, that people probably think of like the spreadsheet guy when they think of me. So I don't know. That was kind of like I'm just I've always been like that. I love just kind of like laying everything out. You know, doing I guess tier lists and spreadsheets would probably be. Oh, and my offer calculator. I was probably the first one that like graded offers in game and
Mm.
tried to like help people spend responsibly. So that would probably be like my main contribution back in the early days was grading the offers every day. And I'm not sure if Plarium liked that or not because you know
I'm sure they
for the
didn't.
first year I was like the biggest raid creator, and every day I would go over their videos and be like, oh, that offer's trash. Okay, that's trash. Don't buy that.
I am sure Plarium was not a fan of that whatsoever. But honestly, it was, you know, you did a big service for the community, because the reality is those offers drastically vary in terms of quality, and certainly now
Are
more
they
than
better or
ever.
worse now? It's been
Oh,
like a year and a half.
they are literally worse. You would think that the deeper into raid you go, that offers would actually get better, right? Like the product is older, maybe people aren't interested in playing as much. I am not even kidding you, Chosen. The actual value of what they give you in some of these offers is literally worse than they would have given you 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. And
I
it's
see.
crazy because people maybe aren't aware of it, but I've wanted to actually do a video on it. Funny enough, you know, it's funny we're talking about it now, but like even for void shards, for example, for void shards back in the day, you could get 24 void shards for $59.99 in American dollars. Like that was the special void
Yep.
pack. It was released
Yep.
basically every day. That pack disappeared, by the way. It's no longer out there. It's completely gone. Although every once in a while they'll roll it out with a couple other packs at the same time. And so, for example, we have a 2x void weekend right now, and one. Funny enough, here's some packs right here. You can see the overall value. But so they used to offer you 24 for $59.99. Now they're offering you 16 for 50. And if you do the math on this,
Yep. Yep.
it's not the same. And they even had, funny enough, that 24 for $50.99 pack come up yesterday, but it was 24 for 80. It was literally
Oh,
$20 more
geez.
expensive. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
bravo
Gotcha.
to Plarium. Bravo to Plarium, sneaking in those worse offers as time goes on, which is like shocking to me that they're
It's because I
actually.
quit. It's because I
Yeah,
quit dunking on the
exactly.
offers every
You
day,
know,
and so now they get worse ever since I've been
we
gone.
we need you back, man. We need you grading those offers and putting out those videos so people know where the value is. I love that. So, okay, I've got a couple quick rapid fire questions for you here. So this is, just general raid knowledge, not even knowledge, but just curious things about raid. So let's start with just something basic. What was your favorite raid champion ever? Do you have one?
Oh, dude, it's Battle Kazar for sure.
Yes, that
Yeah,
was your
my
thumbnail. Yeah,
yeah,
PFP, if I
that's
remember
one of
correctly.
my yeah, that's one of my coolest moments as a gamer is when I was kind of like up and coming, and Plarium made Battle Kazar with my face, and that was so cool to me. Back coming up
Wait,
as a
it
content
was
creator, and I thought
actually
that
your
was just epic.
face? They
Yeah.
made it with your.
No, no, no. No, not in game. Not
Oh,
in
oh,
game.
oh! They made
Yeah,
it
no,
the
but
icon for
my
you.
yeah,
Got it.
they made Battle Kazar with my face, and I turned that into like my Discord icon and all that.
Got it.
Yep.
I was like, wait a second. This is you? This is you, Joseph? Like, no, I remember the
Yeah. No.
PFP. I didn't realize McLaren was the one that had made that for you. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. All right. Yeah, that would definitely be a pretty good reason to choose somebody as a favorite champion. So, okay, next question. Least favorite piece of raid content ever?
Like content that I produced, or
No, let's just go with content that Plarium had. So, like, what was your least favorite part of Raid Shadow Legends?
probably Tag Team Arena. It
Yeah.
always just felt like a chore that I had to do. Like I never really wanted to do it. And the live arena could have been so cool, but it was just a bit of a miss. So probably those two things.
So much potential in that mode. It kills me every day as someone who plays it, and that's like the majority of my streaming audience is me like people watching me do that, and it's like so much potential. Certainly I hope that the people at Godforge learn from that, because that is
Yep, we're on
definitely
it. We're on it.
like I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of faith because of the people involved, and certainly I know. I mean, I love Saf and I love El Hades, so it'll be interesting to see what you guys cook up. Here's another one. Best, and this could be your content. This could be anything. Best raid moment. What was your favorite raid moment? And this is a very tough question out of 5,000 videos and lots of different things. But is there something that sticks out to you as like one of those pinnacles of your raid journey that you were really proud of or that you loved?
Oh yeah, there was so many. Probably going to TwitchCon and being able to meet some of the other creators and hang out with them, and then like meet some people from Plarium and get to do a live stream from Plarium's like raid, like a little booth there that they had set up at TwitchCon. That was definitely a super cool highlight opportunity that I was able to get. So I was supposed to go to Ukraine back in the day, like when Raid was just brand new coming out, and then you know what happened? Global pandemic right
Yes.
before I was supposed to go. So that would have been an epic moment. But funny enough, going back to when you were talking about like going full time, you know what happened? I finally I get the courage. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go full time. I'm gonna put in my notice at my job. And you know what happened? Literally the next day after I told my job I was quitting,
What?
COVID-19.
Oh, no.
Like
Oh
literally the
God.
next day.
That's so
Literally the next day.
brutal.
So
Dude.
so I'm like, I'm venturing out into the world with no job, and here's a pandemic. So I'm like, I'm literally calling around trying to get my own health insurance because I'm leaving the bank.
Yeah.
And everyone I'm calling thinks I'm like sick or something. I'm like,
Oh
no. And
no.
so I'm calling for health insurance, and they're like, you know, this policy doesn't kick in for 90 days, right? And I'm like, I'm not sick. I just need health insurance because I'm leaving my job. So it was just a huge mess right when I decided to do that.
Oh no, dude, that is all right. I'll share a quick anecdote because it relates, but like, because I completely understand where you're coming from. Like I mentioned, I was an actor. I had just moved to LA because I wanted to do more comedy in my acting career, my TV acting career. And no joke, 2 weeks later, everything had shut down. I'd left all my representation behind in New York. I couldn't get new representation. I was like, well, shit. Like, I guess that's that. Well, and that was what like got me started in raid content because I had nothing else to do. But it's crazy. You know, we were talking a little bit about this off stream or off recording. It's just like the timing of stuff being important, like the things you can't control as to whether or not you become a massive creator or become successful in whatever your chosen field may be. And it's just crazy, like those things that just you could never have predicted, and certainly I don't think anyone could have predicted that pandemic and everything that happened with it. So, man, that is wow, God, the timing on that is just brutal. Brutal.
Yep. And then you know, I'm like Diablo Immortal was like gonna be a big launch for me. Like me and Darth and so many people, we were like starting a website, and it's like we're gonna do 24-hour stream marathons when Diablo Immortal launches. And literally the night before, we're planning this for like 6 months. The night before Diablo Immortal comes out, I'm like, it's like 2 a.m, and I'm like, geez, I feel like crap. So I take my temperature, and I have 103 fever the
No.
night before. So it's 2 a.m, and I'm like, you know what? I better go in and just see. I go in and I test
Uh,
positive for COVID the night before Diablo Immortal launches. I'm just like, you
uh,
gotta be kidding. So we plan for 3 months, and then on launch day, I'm so miserable. I have like a migraine. I'm coughing, feverish. I couldn't stream. I couldn't do anything. I missed all the launch. Just
God, that is so unfortunate.
I
That
just couldn't win with some
sucks.
of these.
That is brutal. And it's like it's so funny too because it doesn't break your content career to necessarily miss these things, but it certainly can make it. You know what I mean? Where if you're there at the launch of a new game and just for whatever reason people connect with you, it can be that launching point that just takes you into the stratosphere. You know what I mean? It's not that you can't do it out afterwards, of course, but all that work too. That is just rough, dude. Ugh.
Yeah, that's
COVID.
just that's how it goes. It was definitely interesting times though. Lots of crazy stories over 6 years of doing content and raid and stuff.
I have no doubt. So talk one last like quick fire question for you. And that is, you mentioned that you're still in contact with a lot of course great CCs because you work with them realistically at Fateless, some people who are still doing content. Was there ever a content creator that was kind of your favorite content creator? Someone whose content you really admired when you were creating content that you really enjoyed watching their videos?
Oh, geez, you're gonna get me in trouble with that one. I have so many friends that do content and stuff.
And that's not to say that you didn't love lots of other people's content too, right? Like for example, I watched your content, Hades' content, Ash's content, Scratch's content. For me, my favorite content creator was Machan, because he was an ultimate end game spender and I was becoming that. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to see how the number one quote unquote arena player does it. Loved everybody else's content too, but like that was the one that I identified with. You know, is there maybe one, you know, maybe there's a lot of people you love, but maybe there's just one you love a little bit more?
Like I've always been kind of just like a gamer nerd who likes to dive into the spreadsheets and the math and just present the info. So I've always admired the people that can't like Ash, the people that can be so entertaining, and yourself too. Like you're way more entertaining than I am. Like the people that are able to like have a presence while you're sitting in a chair on a computer screen. Like I can't really do that. So I've always admired the people like you and Ash and Darth that are able to like have personality and be entertaining.
He's flattering me, guys. Don't believe it.
Because that's something that I can't really do. I'm just an OG gamer. I just like to play and dive into the data. I'm not as charismatic on camera. So I've always admired the people that can pull that off.
Well, that is I completely can understand that, because I absolutely could never do the stuff that you do in terms of spreadsheets and actual data, and I don't have the brain for it, and it is an immense amount of work that goes into that stuff and effort. You know, so well, that's very generous of you to say. I would say Ash certainly is an incredibly entertaining content creator. But last couple questions for you. I've kept you here a long time. You know, is there anyone in you mentioned, I think I have a good idea who this might be based on what you've said earlier, but is there anybody in the community that you felt like really helped you along the way to kind of your peak as a raid content creator? Was there anyone else that really was a big contributor to that?
Yeah, there was lots of people that I worked with a lot kind of coming up, you know, Cold Brew and Scratch and Darth and some of the you know, even Layla I streamed a lot with, and we had some fun streams. Me and Jay Giggs used to hang out, pull shards. Mad Capper was one of the first people who joined my clan. There's just so many people that were so instrumental. And it was one of the cool things about the raid community is, you know, I've done this for so long that I've been a part of so many communities like Diablo and StarCraft and Overwatch, and I've done content for so many different games. The raid content creator community was definitely a special thing. I can even kind of say, you know, from the outside and being gone for a bit, it was really cool how often people worked together, helped each other, collabed, chopped it up in DMs, planning content. It was really just the whole scene in general of people that helped me out. And then, you know, on my way out, I definitely have to give a shout out to Hell Hades and kind of Fixion and Sham and those guys for taking a chance on me when I was looking for a new opportunity. So, yeah, it's just been instrumental people the whole way up and down.
Dude, I love that. I love that. And I could not agree with you more, where I just feel like the raid content creator community is just unique. Just unique in a way where even when I was doing COD content, you know, there's just, you don't have that same level of collaboration in other areas. People maybe don't understand that, but it feels like in raid, almost anybody is willing to collab with somebody else. You know what I mean? And that's such a unique thing in YouTube content, especially with ultra large creators. And again, like kind of bringing it full circle, you know, where you come into my chat, into my stream where there's not a ton of people, and I'm like, hey dude, you know, I'd love to do a video if you're ever down. And that's just such a cool thing to see. And again, like, talk about living what you're talking about. You know what I mean? You did that yourself. So final thing, is there anything that you want to share with the audience? Obviously we talked about Fateless and what you're doing now, and there's a lot of reasons to look forward to Godforge, but anything else you want to share with the community, share with people before I let you escape into the remainder of your day?
Yeah, no, I always have to make sure that I thank the raid community for being so great to me, because I probably wouldn't have had the opportunities like going to TwitchCon to do cool things, and I probably wouldn't work at Fateless if it wasn't for the support that I was able to get from the raid community. So even though I'm not there anymore, even though I'm not doing content anymore, I definitely will always be appreciative and remember kind of the support that I got back in the day, because that was instrumental for me to finally kind of sink my teeth in and get a foundation in the gaming industry. And I owe it all to the raid community.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, dude. Chosen, thank you so much for joining me, man. Honestly, so honored to get to have you on the channel. So glad that we finally got to collab after all this time. And again, just really appreciate you as a human being and the kind of generosity you showed me personally. And so excited to see what you guys have cooked up with Godforge at Fateless. I cannot tell you how much I am looking forward to it. So thank you again for joining me, man. Thank you guys for watching as well. You know, if you have any questions or things in the comments, let me know. Let us know what you thought about this. Like I said at the top, I'd love for this to be a series where we kind of talk to a lot of different raid content creators that maybe are no longer you know, actively creating content, but are on to different stuff. So just so grateful to Chosen for jumping on and being the first in what will hopefully be a series of these. So Chosen, thank you so much for your time, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I'm excited to watch your other videos, chopping it up with other creators and people in the community. It's definitely the kind of content I'd like to listen to just while I'm working. Just pull up a Drock video of chat with somebody. I'm excited.
It's a little different than what I normally do, but we'll see who I'm able to bring on. But I couldn't have started with a better option than you. So thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thanks, man. It was fun.
All right, guys, this has been Big Papa Drock and Chosen. We are out.